So in this video, what I'd like to go through is I'd like to help you guys out with the pensum A, pensum B, and pensum C, or K rather, by going, basically I'm going to go through the first half. So I'll go through the first paragraphs of this, go through the first, actually, I'll go through the first paragraph of pensum B as well, and you guys only have to do this one, because I'm trying to be nice. And then for pensum C, I'll do about to ubi est brundisium, and then you guys will have to do the last part of that as well. Now I want to be clear, so of course these were all already assigned, and some of you did fine. If you did do fine, which you'll be able to tell by your grades, although now I think about it, the grades the grades for the first two won't reach you until after this. Either way, so you won't know if you've done fine or well. Just do your best. If you think you've gotten them all correct, then go back and recheck, make sure you got everything right. If you don't think you got them all correct, or if you didn't put anything down, then this is the perfect time to review. So the first thing you need to do with the pensum C, because that's where we're going to start, is basically figure out what the question is asking. So and to do that, you need to figure out what are the question words and what do the question words mean. So we have a couple of question words here. We have ubi, we have estne, we have num, and we have quid. Those are our four question words. Ubi means where. In fact, if you want to write that down, that's fine. Ubi means where. So ubi est Roma means where is Rome? Where is Rome located? Estne Sparta in Italia. Estne is a question word which means is. Just is this the case or is this not the case? So Estne Sparta in Italia. Is Sparta in Italy? Then we have a couple more ubis, another estne, two more ubis, and then a quid. Quid est brundisium. Quid means what? So the question is asking is what type of thing is brundisium? Now we talked about a couple of different types of things in this chapter. There are three different categories primarily. So we have rivers or fluvii, islands or insulae, and oppida or cities, oppidum, oppida. And so quid est brundisium would be what is brundisium, and the answer would be brundisium est oppidum. If you want to expand on that, say oppidum Romanum, that would be fine. It's not necessary though. So let's go through the first chunk here. Then you guys will have to do these. And num is the same thing as est. So you're asking a yes or no question. Num Creta oppidum est would mean is Crete a city? If it was quid Creta est or quid est Creta, then you would say it's an island, but you're basically asking is Crete a city? And the answer, if you go and you find the answer by going back to the beginning of the chapter, looking at the map, seeing if it's a dot, a line, or an island, basically. Okay, so let's try to go through these. So ubi est Roma. So how do we figure out that question? Well, so what does it mean? Where is Rome? Well, where is Rome? Let's go back to the beginning of the chapter. We're waiting for this to load. Let's go back to the beginning of the chapter. So where is Rome on this map? Sorry about the whole Kindle reader for the map, but unfortunately this is what we have to work with. Okay, so we see Rome. Rome is right here. It's a dot, which means it's a city. And it, well, this isn't a good thing right here. So Roma, we can see Roma right here, and we can see that it is in Italia if you look on the map on page 6. So now we know where Rome is. So we go back to the question, which is still ubi est Roma, where is Rome? And we would say Roma in Italia est. And what do you know? That was the very first sentence in the entire chapter. So another thing we could have done is we could have gone back to page 7 and basically looked at where it says Rome is in the chapter, and we would see Roma in Italia Est, and that is exactly what we would put for the answer. Roma in Italia Est. Rome is in Italy. All right. If you want to translate the question to English, write down the answer in English, and then translate it into Latin, that is fine. I think it is much simpler just to simply go back into the chapter and reread it. All right, next, Esne Sparta in Italia. Is Sparta in Italy? Okay, well, let's go back. Well, actually, you guys can turn to your to page 6 while you're watching this and try to find Sparta. You'll see that it is, if you look over in Italy, so if you look in the boot country, you'll see, you won't find the name Sparta anywhere. So, okay, well, now we have to look elsewhere. Okay, Sparta is over in Greece. So, Esne Sparta in Italia. The way you would answer this would be, Sparta non in Italia est, sed in Gracia, or Graecia. Sparta is not in Italy, but is in Greece. Next, ubi est Italia. Well, where does the chapter say Italia is? If we look over, we see Italia in Europa est. So let's go back to the beginning, because of course I already know all this, but that's not really helpful. So Esne Italia, or ubi est Italia, Italia in Europa est. Oh, well, there's our answer, and that's what you would put down for the answer to question 3. Ubi sunt Syria et Arabia. Well, okay, this is 2 places, so it's implying that they're both in the same place, and they're both countries, so, or provinciae, provinces. So there we have 3 options. They're either in Europe. There are 3 places that are talked about in the book in terms of places that are bigger than the provinces. So there's Europe, there's Asia, and there is Arabia. Or sorry, there's Africa. So which of these 3 does it go in? So you would go back to your map or to the text, which either one, if you want to read through the text again, that's fine. But if you look over, you'll see Syria and Arabia, and they're in Asia, or Asia. And so that is what you would put down for your answer. Syria et Arabia in Asia est. Esne Egyptus in Asia. Is Egypt in Asia? Well, if you go back and look on the chapter, you'll see Egypt is in Africa, not in Asia. Ubi sunt Sparta et Delphi. Where are Sparta and Delphi? If you look back over, you'll see that Sparta and Delphi are 2 cities. And so from that you can find out that Sparta and Delphi are in Greece. So Sparta et Delphi in Graecia sunt. Now, again, the way you would answer the quid, just because there aren't any quid ones up here. So quid est Brundisium is, what is Brundisium? So if it's a dot basically on the map, then it means that it's a city or an oppidum. If it's a line or like a squiggly line, that means it's a river or a fluvius. And if it is a sort of piece of land out in the sea, then you know that it is an island or an insula. And if you go back, you will find that Brundisium is a dot, so that means quid est Brundisium the answer to that is Brundisium est oppidum. All right. Now, I'm not sure if you guys find that to be the more difficult part of the exercises or the easiest part, but it is sort of the part that is good to do. The pensum C is the part to do when it's the whole chapter is still fresh in your mind. So let's now move to the things which require more looking at the grammatica and the vocabulary, namely these 2 pensa. To start with pensum A, you have nilus fluvi something, the little line means something, est, nilus et Rhenus fluvi something, something, Creta insul something, something, Creta et Rhenus insul something sunt, Brundisium opid something something. Brundisium et Tusculum opid something something. All right. So what you basically need to do is you just need to fill in the endings, and it will always be based on the endings that are given in the Grammatica Latina. So this Grammatica Latina deals with singularis and pluralis. And the words that it gives you are est versus sunt. So nilus fluvius magnus est, but nilus et reni fluvii magni sunt. So you can see that on the one hand, you have us and us, so both the adjective and the noun end in us, and that means that they get an est. Whereas when there's two nouns, when there's two subjects, I guess, the noun describing it and the adjective next to the noun both have an e for us words at the very least, and instead of est you have sunt. So from this you need to take away that nilus, or rather us, the us ending is a singular ending and the est is a singular word, whereas the e ending, the I ending, for fluvius, for fluvii and magni is a plural ending, and sunt is a plural word. Now going down, we'll find that there's a different set of words, so a different set of endings. So you have a and a, so insula, magna, and that also has s. So it doesn't matter if the ending is us or a, it will still be an est. But then the a words become a in the plural. And you'll find that magnus just matches whatever word it's attached to. So it's a magnus fluvius, but it's a magna insula. All right, that seems relatively explanatory. So then we move over to Brundisium, and then you have opidum magnum. Again, magnum takes the same thing, takes whatever ending it attaches itself to of the word that is next to, and then so you have these words. And the plural for the words is a. But again, you'll see that est, it's the same across whether or not it's us, a, or and sunt is the same whether or not it's e, a, or a. So est is always what's going to be the singular word, and then sunt is always going to be for the plural word. So coming back down to here, what is fluvius? Well, fluvi, that's for fluvius. So you know that and it's singular here. So we go, okay, we'll add just the us to it. So nilus fluvius est. Nilus et renus fluvi. Well, is it fluvius? So we know it's either fluvius or fluvii because fluvius is an us-e word. So nilus et renus fluvii, because of the fact there are two of them, sunt rather than est because it's plural. If it's one, it's singular, and then if it's more than one, then it is plural. So, and interestingly, if it's less than one, it's also plural. The only time you'll ever use a singular is if it is only one. So creta. So think about it. If you have so book is the singular, and books is the plural. You have one book, but you can also have 0 books. You'll find that the plural is still used even if you're talking about nothing. Something I just find to be kind of funny. So then creta, insul. Well, what goes at the end of this word normally? So insula. Oh, insula. So it will be either insula or insulae based off of what we were given in the B section of the Grammatica. So creta insula, because there's only one, est, because again there's only one, and you always use est when there's only one. All right, let's try just sort of speed reading through these first couple of paragraphs. So creta et Rhodus insulae sunt, Brundisium opidum est, Brundisium et Tusculum opida sunt. Renus fluvius magnus, magnus goes with fluvius, est. Tiberis est fluvius parvus. Renus et Danuvius non fluvius parvus, sed fluvii magni. Rhenus et Danuvius non fluvii parvi, sed fluvii magni sunt. You'll see, ignore my earlier mistake. It's fluvii parvi, not fluvius parvus, because of course we are talking about two rivers here. Sardinia insula magna est. There's only one here. Melita insula parva est. Again, there's only one island being talked about here. Sardinia et Sicilia non insulae parvae, sed insulae magnae sunt. Two islands, so it becomes insulae magnae or insulae parvae. Brundisium non oppidum parvum, sed oppidum magnum est. Tusculum et Delphi non oppida magna, sed oppida parva sunt. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good idea of how to complete the rest of these. Let's continue on to Pensum B. Sicilia something est, Italia insula something est, Rhenus something est, Brundisium something est. Okay, so the somethings here are different from most of the somethings in the first exercise, because in the first exercise what we're mostly talking about is endings, what goes at the end of this word or of this word or of this word. But they're very much like whether or not you're supposed to use an est or a sunt. But in this case, rather than just it being a question of whether or not you put an est or sunt, it's any word in this vocabulary chart. You'll see, so basically you have the vocabulary on this page and the vocabulary on this page. You'll notice though that they don't make you figure out the place names, so you don't have to figure out if it's Sicilia that it's talking about or Italia or Sardinia or any of the other ones. The reason for that is that those are place names and they are not part of the vocabulary. So Pensum B, you only have to figure out which of these vocabulary words goes into these lines. So think about it sort of as a game, and we're like sort of like a crossword puzzle, but without the mixing and matching up of words, I guess, and think of the vocabula sort of as your word bank. So you just need to figure out which one of these words fits. So Sardinia something est. Well, Sicilia something est. So what is Sicilia? Well, Sicilia means Sicily, and if you go back, you can either go back into the text or you can go back to the beginning and find Sicily. Well, so Sicily's right here. Again, it's in the middle of this. The Kindle book isn't being very helpful right now, and if you look at the whole thing, you can see that it is an island. Okay, well that's one of our three options. It's either an island, it's a city, or a river, and so it's an island. So you would say Sicilia insula est. Italia insula. Well, what's this word? Well, is Italy an island? No, Italy is a province. It's a country. So Italia insula non est. Rhenus. What is Rhenus? Rhenus something est. Well, what is Rhenus? Well, again, if you go back to the beginning, you'll see this is the Rhenus, and the line basically means it's a river, and you can tell that both by this picture and by the fact that you have this. So you'll even find Rhenus non fluvius parvus. So Rhenus non is not a small river, but a large river, but either way, it's still a river. So you would put Rhenus fluvius est. All right, Brundisium something est. Well, what is Brundisium? Brundisium is an oppidum, or a city, so you would put Brundisium oppidum est. So that's just how you would use those first couple of words. Let's continue. Sicilia et Sardinia insulae magnae sunt. You still have to remember the endings, even though we aren't in the ending section anymore. And then Melita insula something est. Well, okay, so what is this probably trying to get at here? What is the blank probably asking for? Well, there's a couple options. So it's obviously asking for an adjective, because we can't really have another noun, because all the words mean Melita, or Melita insula or island is. So Melita is an island, and then something. Probably an adjective. You can't say Melita is an island and then like letter or number. That just wouldn't make sense. So what probably is going to be is an adjective. So what are our adjectives? Well, let's go look. Adjectives always come after the nouns in the vocabulary section. So the nouns end with pensum, and then we have Magnus, Graecus, Magnus, Parvus, Graecus, Romanus, Latinus, Multi, and Pauci. Now, Multi and Pauci we can roll out because those are only plural words, because Multi means many and Pauci means few. And as I just said, if it's more than one, then it's plural. If it's but it can only be singular if it's one. So we're only talking about one island here. So we're obviously not talking about Multi or Pauci. So it could mean Melita insula Romanus est. That could be an answer, so that would be a valid thing to put there. But then let's continue. Britannia non something parva said something something est. Okay, well, it's employing a size word, so parva versus magnus. Parvus versus magnus as applied to an island. And so what is probably more getting out here is Melita insula parva est. As you can see here, this word, right, it uses the word parva in the next sentence because it's trying to contrast Melita insula parva est. Britannia non insula parva sed insula magna. Again, magnus is the opposite of parvus. If you remember back a couple of pages, you'll have this little sign here in the margins, parvus versus magnus, basically meaning parvus and magnus are opposites. All right, so back to the thing here. So Britannia non insula parva sed insula magna est. Brundisium non something said something magnum est. Okay, well now it's now we know we're still talking about size because you have the word magnum here. So we need to figure out whether or not the word magnus or parvus goes here. So Brundisium non something said something magnum est. Well, okay, so what is Brundisium? It's making a statement about Brundisium. So Brundisium non. What is Brundisium? Oh, Brundisium is an oppidum. So Brundisium non oppidum parvum est, since parvus is the opposite of magnus. Brundisium non oppidum parvum est. Well, just there's no est here, but said oppidum magnum est. And let's just get through the rest of these because I hope this is starting to make more sense. Est. Well, there's est, and there's a word gap, but you'll notice that it's attached to the est. Like, for instance, look at said, you'll see that there's a little space here. There's no space with est, so we know it's probably a suffix, and we only have one suffix so far. So est ne Brundisium in Graecia, and that works with the fact that there's a question mark here, so ne, again, just means question mark. It just is stating that the sentence is a question. Brundisium something est in Graecia, something in Italia. Okay, so est ne Brundisium in Graecia. Brundisium, what would go here? Well, is Brundisium in Greece? No, Brundisium is not in Greece. So Brundisium non est in Graecia. And then what is the contrast conjunction that was introduced here? So it can't be est or in or et, or est or sunt or in, because of the fact that those are all those are either prepositions or verbs, and so it has to be either et or said or quoque. We already use known, so it's probably not that. So you have to figure out, oh, well, Brundisium non est in Graecia or Graecia. Which one of these two really is the word that that contrasts? Well, it's et means and, so you would have to say said. So said in Italia. Then so we have this then we have this next here. So something est Sparta. It's obviously asking a question. Then it answers that question in the next sentence. Sparta est in Graecia. You can see that there's no fill in the blanks here because this sentence is necessary to figure out this sentence. So what would go here? Well, it's asking a question about Sparta, and then the next sentence tells us where Sparta is. Sparta is in Greece. So what is our word which is asking the question of where something is? It is ubi. So ubi est Sparta. Sparta oppidum something est. Delphi something oppidum Graecum est. So this makes it a little bit more confusing in my opinion, but Sparta oppidum something est, you can see by the colon here that these thoughts are not separated. Sparta is in Greece. Well, what does that mean for Sparta? It means Sparta is a Greek city. Sparta oppidum Graecum est. Delphi, well, okay, we need another conjunction, or we need another support word in here because that's the only thing that really fits. What's the support word that means that this is the case as well? And the word for that is quoque. So Delphi quoque oppidum Graecum est. Delphi is also a Greek city. Euboea, Naxos, Lesbos, Chios, something Graece sunt. In Graecia sunt something insulae. This last one is would be insulae basically. So Euboea, Naxos, Lesbos, Chios, insulae Graece sunt. In Graecia sunt something insulae. In Graecia sunt multe insulae. And you'll find that out if you go back into the chapter. Again, this is why rereading the chapter is one of the most helpful things you can do, because, okay, well, where does the text really mention all these names? It's right here in this part. And then you'll find in Graecia multe insulae sunt. Oh, well, that's the same sentence as this. It's just missing one of the words. In Graecia sunt something insulae, sunt multe insulae. All right, so that's all the ones for the first chapter.